Let me clarify something for you. I don't think of myself as a king. No, I am a god, and even kings bow to gods.
This is gonna be my video talking about why I lack enthusiasm for third parties today, and to shame these fake Nintendo fans. And I ain't talking about pretendos. I'm talking about these fake ass Nintendo fans who constantly come with that. Well, I don't like to play on Nintendo no more. I used to like to play on Nintendo. Back in the day, I had a NES and a Super NES. Back in the day, when they had all that third party support, Nintendo was good. But now they ain't got those third parties no more. And I don't like them no more.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, why would anybody like games like Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Mega Man X, Secret of the Mana, Street Fighter 2, Super Mario RPG, Castlevania, Metal Warriors, Contra, EA Sport Games, and Tecmo Bowl?
Cause like I said before, and I'll say it again, I'm a Nintendo fan first. And if you disrespect my favorite console and Nintendrones I roll with, I ain't buying your dog shit on any of my consoles, fools.
And that right there is what we call stupid. See, if every gamer was like you, when PlayStation came along and all the developers and all the game makers migrated away from Nintendo and over to the PlayStation 1, then everybody would have stopped gaming. But what does a real gamer do? A real gamer goes to where the games are at. Hence the PlayStation 1. Hence why a gamer like me is on the PC.
What kind of fools would I be if I was to run and buy your game on another console when you treat me as a Nintendo fan like dirt?
I don't know. What kind of gamer would you be? Probably the gamer that went on over to the PlayStation 1 and bought Final Fantasy VII. Probably the gamer that went over to PlayStation 1 and bought Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Probably the game that went over to PlayStation 1 and brought all those third-party games, despite all those games and all those franchises originating on a Nintendo platform and no longer being on a Nintendo platform.
Now, to finish up with these fake-ass so-called former Nintendo fans. You know the fools I'm talking about. The ones making videos crying about how they used to love Nintendo during the NES and SNES days, back when they had all the third parties and were dominating the market.
So, it's okay to like a company when they command all kinds of third-party support, get tons and tons of games to complement their amazing first and second-party support. But it's a problem to not like them when they don't have any third-party support and then they get a game or two every 3 or 4 months?
Newsflash, motherfucker, you never liked Nintendo. You only liked NES and Super NES because they were the most popular shit on the planet. You are just a bandwagon-ass follower and only conforming with what you are told is cool and acceptable. You're a fraud, a phony.
I know you're old enough to know it, but maybe you're too stupid to remember it. But you do realize that Sega Genesis was the cool console here in America, and you do realize up until like 95, 96, it was the Genesis that was beating up on the Super Nintendo in America, right? Right? That would make the Sega Genesis the most popular console for the duration of the 16-bit generation in America. So if anybody was going to bandwagon something, if anyone was going to follow something, they would have gotten a Sega Genesis and not a Super Nintendo.
If you don't like Zelda, you ain't a Nintendo fan. If you don't like Mario, DK, and Kirby, you're not a Nintendo fan. If you don't like Star Fox, F-Zero, and Metroid, you're not a Nintendo fan. Why? Because these games are the embodiment of Nintendo and what they're about, and their philosophy. These games are Nintendo.
So like a good little dick rider, I have to like everything Nintendo to be a Nintendo fan now. I mean, my older brother, he was a huge Nintendo fan growing up, but he never liked any of those games except for Mario that you listed. And look at me. I don't like Kirby. I don't like Yoshi. I don't like Pikmin. I don't like Paper Mario. Am I not a Nintendo fan because I don't like those games, even though, let's say, a game like Zelda is my favorite franchise in gaming? Am I not a Nintendo fan because I think the Virtual Boy is garbage? Would I not be a PlayStation fan because I don't like the PS Vita? Most Nintendo gamers are handheld gamers. The majority of people that play Nintendo played on a handheld system. Are those people not real Nintendo fans because they choose to play on a handheld and don't like their console?
So you never liked Nintendo, you only liked their popular, socially accepted, universally loved consoles, the NES and the Super Nintendo, so you have zero credibility.
Socially accepted? Universally loved? What are you talking about? Gaming back then was anything but socially accepted. It wasn't. It was not. I repeat, it was not. And universally loved? What are you talking about? The regular Nintendo had close to zero penetration in Europe. The Mega Drive killed the Super Nintendo in Europe. The Sega Genesis killed the Super Nintendo in America all the way up until the very end. So what are you talking about? Like I said, you are old enough to know these things. How are you not remembering them?
When you talk about like you used to love Nintendo on these old systems, don't mention any Nintendo-made games. You never really liked Nintendo foods. So please, stop with that bullshit.
Did you ever think one could like Nintendo consoles and not like Nintendo games? Crazy thing, right? See, Nintendo had so much support back then, you weren't exactly pigeonholed into having to like Nintendo-only games. I own a PlayStation 1, I own a PlayStation 2, and I own a PlayStation 3. I do not like, I repeat, you can even watch my old video on this, I do not like any Sony-developed games. This includes God of War, SOCOM, Uncharted, The Last of Us, you name it. I like a few of them, but by large and part, I do not like the vast, overwhelming majority of them. So it is possible to like PlayStation consoles and, oh my god, not like Sony's own first and second party games. Just like back then, it was possible to like a Nintendo console and really not have a big interest in Nintendo's own games. The problem is, right now, you can't exactly do that because the only games on Nintendo consoles are Nintendo games. So let's do a little rundown, a little recap of this doll baby's foolishness. Regular Nintendo and Super Nintendo had the best of first and third party games, but a gamer is fake for not being happy with losing pretty much 80% of that total game library. You can like Nintendo games, but if you don't like all their games, then guess what, people? You're not a fan. There is no one company, people, that I like all their products. Not one gaming company, not one real life company, none. You really need to understand that people can outgrow or tire of things. Just like me, I grew tired of Mario, I grew tired of Call of Duty, I grew tired of Madden, I grew tired of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when I was a little kid. Sales will factually prove this, and if you don't believe me, look at Rock Band and look at Guitar Hero. Nintendo now does not equal Nintendo of old. Just like Capcom now does not equal Capcom of old. Just like Square Enix now does not equal the Squaresoft of old. Now it's funny to me how you can criticize third-party developers for this easy-to-know revelation, how you can criticize them for not being good now as opposed to then, but when it comes to Nintendo, apparently they're immune to any kind of criticism, even though everybody knows they're not as good as now as they were back then. You fail to understand and get a hold of the stupidity and the hypocrisy you are exhibiting in your video. Like Nintendo then, but not now, and you're a fraud. Like third parties then, but not now, and you're not a fraud. Nintendo remains high quality, yet third party doesn't. Is this why third party has caught up to Nintendo pretty much outright in quality? I mean, the days of Nintendo being simply better and head and shoulders above everyone else, guess what, people? They're over. The rest of the pack, they caught up. This video is really nothing but damage control at its finest for two reasons. One, the downplaying of third party. And two, the refusal to accept that Nintendo now is not the same Nintendo you knew back then. But according to you, if you don't like the Virtual Boy, then you're a fraud. So I guess if a Sega fan doesn't like the 32X or a Sony fan and they don't like a PlayStation Vita, that they're also a fraud. Tell me why all Nintendo software doesn't sell to a 1-to-1 ratio. Tell me for every console or for every handheld Nintendo sells, 100% of the user base does not buy that game. Because according to you, and according to your logic, and according to your statements and your claims, all those gamers are not real Nintendo fans now, are they? If any of you actually agree with the Doll Babies video, then I feel bad for you. Because unless you own all, and I mean every game, according to him, you're not a Nintendo fan. And The funny thing is, you have the whole Wii U and the whole game situation and games like Donkey Kong and games like Pikmin. Guess what, people? They can't even reach 1 million. So what does that say, according to this man or this doll baby and his logic? Not only are people not real Nintendo fans, but Nintendo doesn't have many real Nintendo fans left.